Good evening. Thank you all for joining us for the special meeting of the Board of Trustees being held on May 5th, 2021. The time is 5:30. If you'll all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll go ahead and get started with item 3, board workshop. A presentation of the fiscal year 2021-2022 revenue estimates and preliminary budget. Mr. Reza?
Should have done this earlier. President Nájera, Dr. Espinosa, members of the board. Tonight we continue on our process of reviewing and adopting the fiscal year 21-22 year budget for the Socorro Independent School District. It's one of the major responsibilities of the school board to adopt the budget as well as a tax rate that supports the budget. So tonight we will go ahead and let me just give you the agenda. And we'll discuss current legislative updates. We'll discuss the general fund revenue estimates that have been updated. We'll discuss the detailed budgets for the 21-22 fiscal year. That'll include the general fund, the child nutrition program, the debt service. Now they're in bold because by statute, the board has to adopt these three budgets by fund and by function. We'll also look at the internal service fund budgets as well as the federal entitlement budgets. And then we'll also discuss the June 1st budget workshop agenda. So with respect to legislative updates, first let's announce that on April the 28th, 2021, Governor Greg Abbott and Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick did announce the release of $11.2 billion of new federal fundings. Yes. To assist school districts with student learning loss and to help the cost incurred as a result of COVID-19, the pandemic. Now, these are one-time funds that will be for a 3-year period with the projected ending date of September 2024. Now, Socorro is allocated $99.2 million, of which $66.1 million will be released upon our submission of the grant application. So it's important to keep in mind is that there's certain steps that this district has to do before we submit the application. Get public input, review the grant, have a public hearing. So our idea is to maybe on June the 1st, have Dr. Starkey present to the board a little bit of a presentation of what this grant entails and what are the required steps for the application.
I'm sorry, President Nájera?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Reza, you mentioned the $66 million that we were awarded. $66 million that we were awarded, that was after our last board meeting, correct?
That's correct, sir.
That wasn't before our...
That's correct.
So when we released our last budget workshop and our last compensation, we didn't have this money beforehand.
That's correct. We weren't sure when we were going to get them, if we were going to get them at all.
So I want to make sure the public's aware of that.
Yes, sir. That's
So
correct.
if we had this money before, we could have been given a better compensation, but this was released afterwards.
Yes, sir. Certainly, this was after the compensation was
So I
adopted.
want to make sure everybody here in the public is aware of that this money was released afterwards and not before. Thank you, Mr. Reza.
You're welcome. So the total entitlement is $99 million. After we receive the initial $66.1 million, and we'll get the $33 million once TA receives that from the Department of Education. It's important to remember that there's still no word on ESSER 2 funding from TA. It's estimated Socorro ISD will get around $43 million should the legislature appropriate these funds for school districts. So we're still waiting word on that. With respect to our revenue estimates for the general fund, changes since April the 13th, we're looking at $451.5 million in the general fund revenue. We have increased tax collections with respect, estimates with respect to the fact that we've revised our tax assessed valuation growth to 7.12%. Again, this is because of increased values of homes, resale homes. Now, it's important to keep in mind that as the valuations go up by statute under House Bill 3, the maintenance and operation tax rate has to go down. So right now, I'm estimating, this is preliminary numbers, that our tax rate is probably going to go down about 3 cents, maybe a little bit more than that. Now, I'm being very conservative because I'm using preliminary estimates right now. When we get our certified property values in July, at that point, I can give the board an actual determination of what that tax rate's going to be. But for sure, it's looking like it's going to be at least 3 cents. It's probably going to be more. Now, we've also increased our state revenue because of our TRS on behalf amount. And then we also increased our federal revenue because of our indirect cost calculation. With respect to federal funds, the federal government realizes that we have to process a lot of payroll process. They pay us, school districts or entities, for the overhead that we incur. It's usually about 3% for us. That's the restricted rate. An unrestricted rate could be 9% of whatever that entitlement is. So we're projected to get $99 million over a 3-year period. So I've gone ahead and adjusted our federal revenue estimate. So currently, our revenues are $451.5 million in the general fund. So what are our cost drivers for the budget? So we have a commensurate general pay increase of 4% for teachers, nurses, librarians, and counselors, and for all other job classes. We have a lump sum payment of $1,000 for all eligible employees. Additional secondary instructional positions due to projected growth at the campuses and for the dual language program. Additional instructional positions for special education. Funding to increase the number of 3-year-old half-day pre-kindergarten classes at various campuses. Funding to provide laptops for the incoming freshman class. And finally, funding to cover increases in property insurance and utilities. So this is our budget. It's pretty much set now. It's about $460.2 million. There might be a little bit of tweaking, but this budget is done in a sense. As you can see, it's about $16.4 million lower than our current revised budget, and there's some changes. So you all have gotten a budget book, and that budget book has the detail for this particular budget, which is by function. And we're asking the board to look at it, review it at our next June 1st board meeting. At that point, you could certainly ask any questions that you have. So we're giving the board about a month to review the budget book and allow you to review it and see if there's any questions that you have on these items. Again, some just major variances, the $11.8 million for that Function 81. We did purchase several tracts of property for a little under $12 million. Also, with respect to health services, $3.9 million. We're going to be using our federal funds to be able to purchase PPE, additional nurses, and so forth out of federal funds. And so right now we have in our general fund, we're going to move over that to federal funds, and that's why you see a decrease there. With respect to our current situation on the general fund, so revenues are $451.5 million, expenditures $460.2, so we have a projected deficit of a budget deficit of about $8.6 million. So we're looking to use fund balance to be able to balance this budget at this point in time. With respect to the child nutrition services, we're looking at $32.8 million in revenues. You have the detailed budget there that you can look at. Currently, our fund balance is about was $6.3 million to start off the year. Now it's about $2.1 million. And that's why you see that our budget has increased from our current revised budget. During the year, we really weren't offering meals because our schools were practically closed. So we've gone ahead and revised our budget downward for this fiscal year to lower our cost. So what we're doing is we're budgeting for next year under a normal year. And so that's why you see that increase currently. And what we'd be using, it would be using about $632,000 of fund balance for the child nutrition program to be able to balance this particular budget. With respect to debt service, this is in a sense the district's mortgage. We're budgeting $62.8 million. We have a little bit of a surplus there. So bottom line is that with additional increases in valuations, certainly that increases the tax collections. And so at this point in time, our debt service is going to be like this for a couple more years. So bottom line is that it's going to stay that way for a while. All right. So look, these are the budgets the board are going to adopt by function, by fund. Those three by statute, okay? in the June board meeting, under the consent agenda, we're going to ask the board to adopt these other budgets that we're going to go through quickly. Certainly, you have Fund 752, that's the print shop. We have a budget of $632,861. And again, it's pretty comparable to the current budget that we have for the print shop for this year. Under the workers' compensation budget, we budgeted $2.7 million, but our revenues are $1.3 million. So you'll see a deficit in the fund balance of $1.3 million. What I want to explain to the board is this is a planned drawdown of the fund balance. This year, we didn't have hardly any claims. I mean, ordinarily, our workers' comp claims are about $2 million. This year, we're at about $900,000. And so what we've got here is we're going to have a surplus of about $1 million in our workers' comp fund. So we're going to end up with about almost $4 million of fund balance, or what we call net assets, in the workers' comp fund, when we usually spend about $2 million. That's about 2 years' worth of reserves that we really don't need to have. And so it's the plan of the administration is to draw down the fund balance slowly. So to be able to at least over a 3 or 4 year period to get it down to what we think is a very comparable fund balance, which is about $1 million, which is about 6 months of operating expenses. So I just want to be clear on why you see that fund balance there for the workers' comp fund. With respect to the healthcare fund, we're budgeting $67.2 million. It's pretty close to, or about, it's an increase of about $1.2 million in the fund. Current fund balance, we started the year with $13.9 million. Currently, we're at about $9.9 million in the fund balance. Again, I'm giving you summary information. You all have the budget book, which gives the detail. We're asking the board to review it, look it over. We're giving you a month to look at it, and then when we meet on June the 1st, you can certainly ask any questions about this particular fund. So we have Title I. Again, under the consent agenda, Title I, we have $11.6 million. A lot of it has to do with personnel. We have instructional officers, parent liaisons, teachers, tutors. So that's what's budgeted. Again, it's a federal program. It's one of our major federal programs that we have. And so, again, we want the board to review it and see if they have any questions concerning our Title I funds. Now, we have IDEA B, which stands for Individuals with Disability Education Act. It pertains to students with special needs. Our budget is $9.1 million for IDEA B. So primarily, it's personnel. We have 113 positions here. There are diagnosticians, speech therapists, instructional aides, and certainly counselors that we have in this position. So as we move forward over a couple of years, we'll probably be moving some positions from this federal program into the general fund to be able to sustain the program. This is preschool, which pertains to certainly students with special needs in pre-kindergarten. So it's a small grant. It's about $99,859, and we have 2 instructional aides at Escontrias funded out of this particular grant. We have Fund 255, Title II, supporting effective education instruction. So we have $1.3 million for this particular program. We have 9 instructional officers that are funded out of this particular fund. We have, and finally, Fund 263, Title III, English Language Acquisition. It's $998.6 million. We have LPAC instructional aides, about 46 FTEs funded at halftime, at half of their daily rate. So that's what shows up as the $760,000 payroll expense that's listed here. And then finally, I'm just going to go over the June 1st budget workshop. Again, we'll see if there's any revisions on revenue estimates. I doubt it. I think it's going to be pretty close to what we've presented to you today. I'll certainly provide the board with any updated budget actions that we take. And we'll provide the board an opportunity to review what we're going to propose at the June regular board meeting for your adoption. And again, we're going to adopt the general fund, the child nutrition program, and the debt service during the regular board meeting after we have a public hearing, which is required by state. Now, prior to that meeting, we are required to publish a public notice to state that we're going to adopt the budget and the proposed tax rate to support it. So we'll also provide the board a copy of what that notice is going to look like. And so that notice should be published on Thursday or Friday of that particular week. We have to publish at least 10 days prior to the public hearing. So it allows the board to see what is the preliminary tax impact, what the preliminary tax rate is, and also allows for the board to ask any questions on the book that you received this week. So that is my presentation. Are there any questions with respect to the budget as it is? And again, the book is there. We're asking the board to review it, bookmark it. We're giving the board about a month's time to review it and see if there's any questions on it.
Does anyone have any questions? Thank you, Mr. Reza.
Thank you.
Item 4, executive session. The meeting is to be closed for discussion regarding contract of Superintendent Jose Espinosa under Texas Government Code Section 551.074. The time is 5:46. Okay. We are back in regular session. The time is 7:16. 5, new business. A, discussion and possible action regarding contract of Superintendent Jose Espinosa. We do have 2 speakers tonight on this agenda item. We greatly appreciate those individuals who have requested to speak to the board in regard to a specific agenda item. We are bound by certain time constraints in order to cover all the items on the agenda, and therefore must limit presentations to 5 minutes. Please respect the rights of others in your presentation. By law, the board cannot take action upon or discuss any item which is not posted on tonight's agenda, but we will give all presentations our serious consideration. Thank you. Our first speaker is Pablo Beretta.
Good evening. I would like to first off by saying thank you for this opportunity. As a newly elected official, my questions and concerns are as follows. Remember, you have 2 newly elected officials coming in that people spoke for. And you're not even giving us the opportunity to have a say, especially when we will be here for the next 4 years. Why so quick to review the superintendent's contract? Most common practice in elected positions is when there are newly elected officials, the body goes into what's called lame duck, so that no action is taken within that entity until the swearing in. You shouldn't have taken action, even more so while there is a current investigation from TEA. This investigation should have been priority. Is there a hidden agenda here? Or is there more than that meets the eye? This is a lack of transparency to the people, and there are certain board members already setting the tone. Mr. Gandara, thank you for your service and thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good luck to you, sir. Good luck.
Thank you, Mr. Barrera. Our second speaker is Mr. Castellan.
Hello. Hello. My name is Ricardo Castellano. Okay. I'm a newly elected board member for District 3. Ms. Rodriguez, thank you for your service and on a well-run race, and that it was clean, and we really appreciate that, and thank you. First off, I'd like to say the decision's already been made in executive session, so whatever I'm going to say is probably a moot point, but reminder is that we don't work for one person. We work for the entire Socorro Independent School District and its population. We work for the students. That's what it's about. We say it's for the children. I mean, how many times have we said that? We're doing it for the children, our bond issues. Decisions made tonight and in the future should have that stamped on it. It's for the children. Okay. We need to ensure there's integrity on this board that makes the right decision, and that we don't turn around and try to cover things up and do things that are subpar and then try to bury it. Transparency will be number one. We do have a TA investigation underway, and I feel any decision on any contract should wait till after that's complete. We should use the TA investigation as the superintendent's report card, as well as everybody else in the district, to see how well it was done. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Item 5A, discussion and possible action regarding contract of Superintendent Jose Espinoza. We authorize the board president and secretary of the board to complete the voluntary separation agreement between Dr. Espinoza and Socorro ISD.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Gondeta and a second by Mr. Guerra. Is there any further discussion?
Yes. Dr. Espinosa? Nine years ago, you walked into the school district. It wasn't a school district that was in dire need, but it was in a good place. And you made it better. And I thank you for that. And I understand why you decided what you decided to do today. Like any good champ, you want to leave on top. You left this district as an A district. We've been the top of our game for the past 10 years. You are loved. You are loved. And you're going to be missed. I know you're going to go off to better places. I hate to see you leave. I really wish you would stay and fight. But it is your decision at the end for you and your family. I wish you nothing but the best. And you are going to be very, very missed in this district. That's all I have to say.
Any other discussion?
President Nahara,
Yes, Mr. Rodriguez.
Dr. Espinosa, it's been a wild ride. It's been amazing. Thank you so much for your dedication, not just to this district, but to this entire community. You came in, you had a vision of treating every student as if they were your own. And obviously, there's a room full of people who believed in that vision. We believed in that vision. We thank you for everything. Again, not just what you've done for the district, not just what you've done for our teachers and our staff, our students, but for this entire community. You took this district from where it was, and it just soared. Everybody, Socorro ISD is the envy of other districts. And we appreciate everything that you and your family have done. We've seen your kids grow up here. And like Mr. Kandara said, I wish you the best. And I know wherever your next adventure takes you, you're just gonna soar. You're You're taking from, you're leaving a great district in a great position. And I thank you for that. Thank you so much.
Any
Dr.
other
Espinosa,
discussion?
Past 9 years, like both of my colleagues have said, it's been a good ride. You've had a vision, an early college in every one of our high schools. When I've walked this past election, the past 4 years, we had an early college in every one of our high schools. We can't. No one else in El Paso can say that. In Region 19, no one else can say that. We're the only ones that can say that here and in the state of Texas. I think there's no other district that can say that. We have an early college in every one of our high school because that was your vision. No one else can say that. A+ district. No one else can say that because that was your vision. And you brought that to our district. No one else can say that because of you. And it's a shame. And it's a shame that you have to leave, and we understand why you have to leave. And we understand why. And we get it. But it's a shame. And I hope that the public understands that we're losing a strong superintendent. This is Team SISD. And we will rebuild and hope the new board members come in with not an agenda. There's no agenda. The agenda is our district, our students. Our students come first. The only agenda when you run for the board is our students and our employees. If you run for the board and you have an agenda, you're going about it the wrong way. You shouldn't be a board member. It should always be about the district. We are losing a great superintendent, and we're going to go back 10 years. And that shouldn't be happening. Dr. Espinosa, thank you so much. We wish you the best of luck. We will be Team SSD, and we will continue Team SSD. We will be Team SSD strong. Thank you, sir.
President Nahara,
Mr. Mena?
Dr. Espinosa, I want to wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors. I know wherever you go, you're going to do phenomenal. Even though I've only been on this board 2 years, but you've done a good job. Thank you for your service.
Ms. Morales?
I want to diddle that. Thank you for your service and your hard work. I know your dedication to the district and to the children. We really appreciate everything you did. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And the motion carries. If there's no further business before this board, we are adjourned. The time is 7:29.